Urban Meyer is making Ryan Day's life at Ohio State even more difficult than it already is. I'll explain. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and a play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. We're going to do a deep dive into the Buckeyes pressure cooker this year. We have the latest recruiting news, some ups and downs for Penn State. We'll talk some Ohio State recruiting too, and Nebraska getting their running game ready. Plus our power rankings. We're going to have some fun and rank the mascots with all 18 of them here. All that coming up right here. But first, poor Ryan Day. Last week here on Locked On Big Ten, we talked about Urban Meyer raving about the 2024 Ohio State Buckeyes. You can go back and watch it. In fact, we encourage you to do that. If the Ryan Day pressure cooker was an 11 on a scale of 10, it's now cranked up to about 20. Now, as we discussed last week, Urban Meyer said that Ryan Day's roster is the best he's seen in college football in the last 10 years. Then he added, maybe ever. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal. At first, when Urban Meyer said that the Buckeyes roster was the best in the last decade, I think that was an important note because Urban Meyer's 2014 Buckeyes team won the national championship 10 years ago. That team went 14-1 and 8-0 in the Big Ten. They railed Wisconsin 59-0 in the Big Ten championship. And they beat Alabama 42-35 in the college football semifinal playoff. And they beat Oregon in the Natty 42-20. By the way, that Ohio State-Oregon game this year, circle that on the calendar. That's a big deal. By the way, the co-defensive coordinator of the 2014 Ohio State Buckeye championship team was Wisconsin head coach Luke Fickell, just to tie that Big Ten in there. So that team in 2014 had some questions at quarterback, like this year's team does for the Buckeyes, but the circumstances were much different, as a matter of fact. Remember, two-time Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year Braxton Miller was injured in the preseason. Redshirt freshman J.T. Barrett came on and did a very admirable job, and he played most of the season. He got hurt in the Michigan game. That means he was out for the postseason. And of course, they won that Michigan game. They go into the postseason, and sophomore Cardell Jones, redshirt sophomore, comes in, and he was the third stringer at the start of the season. He got the Buckeyes to the finish line, got them into the national championship, and they won. Now, that team was loaded. You think Urban Meyer thinks that this year's Ohio State team is loaded? Greatest roster in 10 years, maybe ever? The 2014 Buckeyes roster was pretty good. You had Joey Bosa on the defensive line, Taylor Decker on the offensive line, Zeke Elliott was a running back, Eli Apple, who had a long career in the NFL playing at corner, Michael Thomas at wide receiver. They were loaded. They were absolutely loaded. So then Urban Meyer added to his comment about the 2024 roster being the best Buckeyes roster in the last decade, and then he added, or maybe ever. So let's explore that. Look, it was meant as a compliment at the time when he said it. And it may have backfired a little bit because it really turned up the heat and the expectations on Ryan Day to deliver a lot. And the heat was already there. The expectations were already there for Ryan Day to have a big season. We've all known this. We've talked about this at length here on this podcast. But you know the drill on Ryan Day, okay? He runs a great program. He wins a lot, like almost 90% of the time. The guy's a winning football coach. You also know the other side of the coin. He hasn't beat Michigan in the past 3 seasons. He hasn't won a national championship. There are some people that say that this year Day has to come through or else what? First of all, the team up north, they just won a national championship. People in Columbus, they don't like that or even acknowledge it for that matter. You know, Connor Stallions and all. And Jim Harbaugh is gone. So things are changing. The door is opening, and Michigan's roster may not be all that it was last year. So, yeah, this year feels like it's all or bust. And I think Ryan Day has felt that way, of course, even before we get to the season. The minute the season ended last year, look, he did a lot here in the offseason. First of all, he got rid of quarterback Kyle McCord, who, in my opinion, had one bad quarter all year. Happened to be the fourth quarter up in Ann Arbor. People tend to frown upon that. So he revamped the entire quarterback room. He's got 5 guys in there ready to go. He also delegated his involvement in the offense. Got a new offensive coordinator. Said, here, I can't do it all. This job is too big, but let me get a good guy here. We got Chip Kelly, offensive coordinator. He doubled down on his involvement with name, image, and likeness collectives, and he enticed a lot of players to put their NFL careers on hold by a year by getting them enough money to stay at Ohio State for one more season. Then he pounded the transfer portal. He got his quarterback and Will Howard. He got highly touted defensive back Caleb Downs, a transfer from Alabama. That's just to name a couple. He's been very, very busy. You cannot deny that Ryan Day has gotten it after it here in this offseason. All of this because his team finished 11-1 in the regular season. That's not good enough at Ohio State. It's phenomenal, but it's not good enough. 11-1 from the 2023 season and all this shakeup. It's amazing, really, but that's where we are with big boy college football. That's quite a major redo that he went through. And that all comes from a coach who's feeling the pressure to win it all. Then Urban Meyer, whose word and opinions are gospel to people in Columbus, he dropped the compliment about the Buckeyes loaded roster, maybe the best ever. Well, the best ever, or even the best in the last decade, still has to beat Michigan, still has to win the Big Ten championship, still has to run through the newly expanded 12-team college football playoffs and win a national championship. That's what the best roster ever has to do. Anything short of that, best roster, whatever you want to call it, would be a shortcoming on the coach and his staff. That's pressure. That's the definition of pressure. The pressure boils down to 3 regular season games instead of the usual one. October 12th at Oregon. I think that's everything. I've said it before. I'll stand by it. I think that's their biggest game on the schedule this year, even including the other big game of the 3 I'm going to mention, Michigan at the end of the season. Got to win that one for a lot of reasons. And, of course, November 2nd at Penn State. Those are the big ones. Those are the holes in the road. They got to get through those. Now, how about to win the Big Ten championship? I'll say of all these games I'm going to group together, winning the Big Ten championship game might be the least important of the bunch. Again, and I say this because with a 12-team playoff, if they make it that far, if they make it the Big Ten championship, win or lose, they're going to the playoffs. All right, there's still more fish to fry here. So I don't know if that game has the same pressure that it used to. If you're in it and you're in Ohio State, you're going to the playoffs, win or lose, no matter what. So I think that takes pressure off of that game. The second tier of pressure then comes in, and we got a whole slew of multiple playoff games now. The 12-team playoff, you get in there, now you got a second tier of pressure where you got to win multiple playoff games week after week and win the national championship here. So that's 4 more postseason wins, 3 if you get a bye. Even Urban Meyer didn't have to go through that gauntlet. Nobody has. We're all going to watch it together for the first time. Anyway, love to hear what you think about all that. I know you Buckeye fans are out there. We'll talk about it. You can hit me up at Twitter or X at TalkBig10 number 10. Don't forget the comments on YouTube, and don't forget you see the scroll on the bottom, TalkBig10 number 10.com. You can hit us up there. And Buckeye fans, get ready for your season. Buy your shirts, hats, and merchandise. Big Ten or Buccaneer or Buckeye stuff. Ohio State Buckeye swag for the season. Get it right there. TalkBig10 number 10.com. All right. We got a lot to do here coming up. Big recruiting news, including Ohio State. So stick around for that. Plus Penn State, a lot of ups and downs, and some Nebraska stuff on the running game. All that coming up. Be sure to subscribe. If you like what you see here, subscribe, click it. That's it. No other information, no money. It's free. And then you and I are together for Big Ten stuff every single day. And whether you listen on or watch on video or you listen on your favorite podcast app, you can follow Locked On Big Ten wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. All right. Major recruiting news and our mascot power rankings. Now that we have 4 new ones, all that coming up right here on Locked On Big Ten. Stick with us. We will take care of all that in just a minute. Game Time. Going to tell you about Game Time and the Game Time app. It is really cool and easy. Helps you get tickets to anything you want to go to. You know, they're really locked into Major League Baseball this summer. So they're an authorized ticket marketplace agent of Major League Baseball that makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Killer last minute deals, all in prices right away. No secret stuff added on. You got the view from your seat right there on your phone. You can click it and then it shows you a picture of the view of the seat for the ticket you're about to buy and their lowest price guarantee right there. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying major league tickets. That's what you want to do this summer. Go to a Major League Baseball game, get your tickets on Game Time. They also have everything: comedy shows, theater shows, everything in your backyard, in your town. Get the tickets right there. Game Time has last minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all the things I just mentioned. Get great deals right there. Take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's talk some recruiting here. We'll take care of that here in just a minute. But first, I want to thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, subscribe on YouTube, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And again, don't forget our website. Get your swag from your favorite team at talkbig1010.com. All right, recruiting news. Since we were just talking about the Buckeyes a moment ago, they're adding to their top-ranked 2025 recruiting class. That's right. It's getting even better. 4-star defensive end Zion Grady committed to the Buckeyes. Now, he's from Alabama. And my first thought was, how did Alabama let this kid get out of their state? Well, the fact is he initially committed to Alabama, but he changed his mind when Nick Saban got retired. And his choices came down to Ohio State, Tennessee, and Florida State. He had his official visit with the Buckeyes this past weekend, and Ryan Day closed the deal. Didn't let him out of the door without a commitment. Good size. He's 6'4". He's 230 pounds, 82 tackles, 23 hurries, and 10 sacks his junior year. I mention this because he's very versatile versus both the run and the pass, and that makes him a very attractive recruit. So Ohio State, the rich get richer. That 2025 class is looking spectacular. Hey, good news for Penn State. You know, they've been recruiting a lot of big fish lately, and when you go for the best, you know, it makes headlines. If you get a guy or if you lose a guy to another school, you win some, you lose some, right? Well, these days you win some, and other days you try to steal them away. This team has already lost running back Alvin Robinson, who flipped to Auburn last week. It was kind of a blow, but hey, no problem. Penn State just landed a top in-state running back for 2025. The former Georgia commit, Jabri Wallace-Coleman. He was rated as a 4-star running back, and he is going to go to Penn State. They love their running backs there. He rushed 202 times this past year as a junior for 1,585 yards and 28 touchdowns. He had been committed to Georgia as early as July of 2022. Back when he was a baby. They have flipped him. Then there was the case of Missouri trying to poach Messiah Mickens from Penn State as well. Now, he's currently the only commit for the Nittany Lions class of 2026. But he's a local kid from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and he still seems committed to Penn State. At least that's what he says on social media. He is currently the 8th ranked running back in the country. He originally committed to Penn State back in August of 2023. So he's hanging tough. He's hanging tight with Penn State. He's garnered a lot of attention since then. People have noticed that he's good, but 2026 is a long way away. Hopefully for Penn State fans, this one sticks. And on the defensive side of the ball, Penn State beat out Texas A&M and Oklahoma for the services of 4-star Sugarland, Texas edge rusher Max Granville. He's 6'3", 225, ranked as the 19th best player in his position in the country. His dad, Billy Granville, played for the Cincinnati Bengals. And for months, it seemed that the younger Granville services were in a dead heat between the Aggies and the Sooners. All of a sudden, Penn State swooped right in and got him. How about that? And in case you missed it, we told you 3-star running back Mickey Nelson out of Oakdale, Connecticut, has committed to Nebraska. In fact, he is already enrolled at Nebraska and will be part of the class of 2024. This is a rush job. He's in there, and that is something they needed to shore up a little bit. Needed some more. They get a lot of recruits coming in for the running game. So, and by the way, the Huskers are working on a future blocker for him. Honolulu offensive lineman Houston Kahani Torres just visited Lincoln. It was his last official visit out of all the schools he was looking at. And we will see if Matt Rule can close this one. Keep an eye on that. That could be big. So I always like to keep you up to breast with everything going on in recruiting. It's still nuts. It's still insane out there. No rest for the weary. If you spend your time in the daytime, watch a lot of daytime sports talk TV on, the ESPNs and the FS1s where they're just screaming over each other louder. I guess if you're louder, you're more correct. That seems to be how it works. A lot of people got to turn it down. But then there's Locked On Sports Today. I want to tell you about them, our friends over there. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV Channels app. It's part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so I'm always looking around for stuff to talk about, some interesting stuff. On Wednesdays, middle of the week, we always like to do power rankings. Usually during the season, we rank the teams that are the best or whatever. But we have some fun with some silly stuff in the off season. I found somebody out there, I'll tell you who in a minute, who ranked all 18 mascots for the Big Ten. I thought this would be fun to take a look at, so we will do that next. We'll see where your favorite team comes in on the list and whether you agree or disagree. That's next right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, it's time for our power rankings, middle of the week. Mascots, best to worst. Now, I'm going to put this on screen. All right, now, this is not my list. I took it from USA Today. They put it out online, Big Ten mascots, power rankings. So if you're upset, be upset with them. I have a few that I'm upset with as well. I'll share those with you here. Let's do this. I'm going to put it on full screen in case you are an audio only podcast listener. I know there's a lot of you out there on your favorite podcast app. We'll take care of it here in details. If you're watching on video, we'll put it on screen right here. All right. So we're going to start it off with the Oregon Ducks at number 1, according to USA Today. Now, I got to tell you that the Ducks, I know they're brand new to the Big Ten. They got a nice looking mascot here. Got the nice giant duck head. He comes out and rides out on a motorcycle leading the team. Look, this is worthy of some consideration for the top. I don't have a problem with this at all. Oregon's got a great looking mascot. All right. And number 2, the Michigan State Spartans. How can you argue with Sparty, right? That's a cool looking mascot. That big square dimpled chin and the Spartan outfit. It's a great mascot at all the sporting events at Michigan State. I don't have a problem with them being in the top 2. The Wisconsin Badgers, Bucky Badger. I will say, look, it's good. He's been around for a while. Bucky Badger does look a little scary. Maybe he's supposed to scare the other team. And then number 4, you got the Ohio State Buckeyes, Brutus. I think that's one of the greatest mascots in college football with Brutus. He's got that giant Buckeye head. He's always in shape. he's a good mascot. It's very good. Rounding out the top 5, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. We got Herbie Husker, wearing the overalls with the bright red N on the chest and the red hat. I don't know if I would put this one in a top 5. That might be the first one. There's nothing wrong with it. I wouldn't put it on the bottom. I don't know if I would have it in the top 5. Nor would I, Purdue Pete, the Boilermakers, with his giant head. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know if I'd have him at number 6, but he is. He's at number 6. He's very recognizable. I'll tell you that. And then Iowa Hawkeyes at number 7 with Harry the Hawk. The black and yellow just stands out. It just fits perfectly. I might have Harry the Hawk, the Hawkeyes mascot, ranked a little higher here than this. So anyway, that's where he's at. How about the USC Trojans and Tommy Trojan since 1961? They've got a costume version and they have a human version. He's the one that rides the white horse. Not bad. Great tradition. They come in at number 8. Number 9, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. They got Sir Henry, the Scarlet Knight. He's been around since 1955. That's a classic. Maybe very underrated. So Rutgers sitting there at number 9. And rounding out the top 10 is the Washington Huskies and Harry the Husky. And he's kind of new to the scene, sort of, since 1995. Again, these are all a list put together by an online piece from USA Today. So this is their list, not mine, and these are my comments along the way. So that's your top 10 from Oregon to Washington. We have more. You're probably going, hey, where's my favorite team, right? Well, here's the rest of their list. At number 11, I got the Northwestern Wildcats. Willie the Wildcat. Yeah, maybe that's pretty good. Now, did you know? I think Willie the Wildcat is the second oldest actual mascot in the Big Ten. He goes back to 1933, Depression era. Yeah, he's an old guy. At number 12, the Minnesota Golden Gophers. They got Goldie. He's a soft and cuddly gopher. Great for merchandise, selling to little kids, right? And then at 13, you got, by the way, speaking of merchandise, don't forget, go to talkbig10number10.com for all your merchandise for your favorite teams. UCLA Bruins at number 13. They've got Joe Bruin. Bruin is a bear. He's just kind of a soft bear. Not really memorable, but again, good for merch with the kids. Then this one, the Penn State Nittany Lions at number 14. He looks like a beat up Halloween costume that's been in the closet for 30 years. Penn State, you got to spruce this guy up. He looks like he's patched together. I don't think a lot of people would disagree with me on that either. So I think for them, USA Today putting Penn State, I think this is a little too high at 14. I think they should be knocked down maybe a peg or two. Same with the Illinois Fighting Illini. Due to political correctness, they've changed this mascot over the years. So now it's a bird. It's like a kingfisher. It's blue. A kingfisher bird. It's only been around since 2020. Then the Maryland Terps coming in at number 16. Testudo. This is actually the oldest mascot in the Big Ten. 1932. He's a turtle that walks around. I think it could use an update, though, but I like the concept. And then look at number 17 and number 18, the Michigan Wolverines and the Indiana Hoosiers. Neither school has a mascot. That's why they're at the bottom. Yeah, they're the Wolverines and they're the Hoosiers. But the Wolverines don't have a mascot dressed up as a Wolverine going around on the sidelines. So they're 17, and Indiana. Look, I went to Indiana. I have trouble explaining what a Hoosier is to it. They used to have a bison back in the 60s, but that didn't catch on. So there you have it. That's why Michigan and Indiana are at the bottom of the list. So what do you think? Those are this is from USA Today online. their Big Ten mascot rankings 1 through 18. So we did them for our power rankings here on a Wednesday. We do power rankings every Wednesday here on Locked On Big Ten. So let me know what you think about all that. So some good stuff right there. Some fun at the end of the day. Many ways for you to reach out to me and interact. First of all, there's Twitter at Talk Big Ten, or X if you like, at Talk Big Ten number 10. Don't forget our website at, you can see on the bottom crawl there, talkbig10number10.com. Get your merch and all of our podcasts. This one will go there as soon as we're done as well. And the comments on YouTube as well are always welcome. Before you go, be sure to subscribe real quick and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. That way you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Watch another couple episodes. Go back to last week and see that one where it was the second block that we talked about Urban Meyer saying how great the Buckeyes were. I think you get a kind of a feel for how we came upon this direction here today for our lead topic, if you will. When you're done with all that, don't forget our friends from Locked On. They've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today. It's here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day from our local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. As always, loved our visit and can't wait to do it again tomorrow. More football. And we'll take a look ahead to the Big Ten Classics coming up on the weekend with the Big Ten Network as well. So that will do it for Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.